All right, so I'm going back and I'm watching the highlights from the Bulls and Knicks games. And shout out to it was a great game, by the way, especially after that OKC and Memphis blowout. Terrible for OKC. But I've been just thinking about how people been talking about DeMar DeRozan this year, and I guess how they acting so surprised at how good he's been, or even how they was talking about him in San Antonio. I think people forget that DeMar DeRozan is 31, 32, 31.
Yeah,
Like,
basically.
he's not at the end of his prime. Like, he's not at the beginning of his prime, but he's a lot younger than people talk about DeMar DeRozan. Like, they're shocked that he's having this career revitalization or something.
It ain't even a revitalization. He's on a different team where
No, I'm not
where
saying
you could
that.
just see his knees are because he's back scoring at a high clip. We talked about that earlier in the year. When he went to San Antonio, he kind of was distributing more, and the team just wasn't as good as LaMarcus Aldridge got older or whatever. Right. And of course, he's gotten a reputation as the guy that got traded for Kawhi or whatever. But I definitely think he's reestablished himself this year. Because I mean, no, he didn't make an All-Star game in San Antonio. No. He was in the running a few times, but yeah, people are definitely back on the DeMar train. But they should have never left. Shout out to DeMar.
Oh, for sure, they hit a couple big shots to win that, to close that game out last night, especially from the mid range where
people don't respect the 30-year-olds because they're so ready to give the league over to these young players because they look good and the potential, but the potential isn't what's actually happening right now. So maybe in 4 years you will be better than him, but right now you still aren't better than him.
And with that being said, John Davis,
appreciate it.
And it's the Hoopers morning run. But no, yeah, you do have a point because we are quick to want to go ahead and give the, and I want to say us, I mean just everybody in general. They just want to go ahead and give it to the next crowd, to the next crowd of NBA players, the 25 and under crowd. Like, you still got to respect those players like DeMar, who's been a quiet all-star for his whole career, honestly.
Like, look how ready people were to name Luka the best player in the NBA and then you come back now and we're watching everybody play again and you see what Steph and KD is doing. And it's
just one player
yeah, he can get there, but he's not there yet or whatever. And they do that with all over the players. And I mean, that's just a product of the list that they make at the beginning of the year, ranking the players, and everything is based off of potential. And people want to just look towards the future, but you gotta look at what you're saying right now. So
sure.
Yeah. Shout out to the Bulls, though. The Bulls, if was holding, some people really like the Bulls, and some people was hating on them, talking about they because of the strength of the teams they were playing at the time. But the Bulls are a good team, and they've dealt with adversity. Not having Kobe White at the beginning,
definitely makes
you lost Patrick Williams.
Yep.
You just got Kobe White back, now you lose him again because he got COVID. So they've been hooping through some things too.
Nah, for sure. And DeMar and Zach LaVine they've been doing a good job of leading that team, especially offensively. Like how the games are opposite, so it kind of helps each other. Where Zach is going to operate starting at the 3-point line, and DeMar is going to start at the elbow to get a lot of his points.
I mean, I think the key with that too is just having a point guard and Lonzo like kind of knowing.
Got to give Lonzo his credit. So definitely.
Those guys can be scorers because you can have two scorers, especially if people are trying to work efficiently. Like it can work with having two scorers, but they're getting to their spots. They're not holding the ball for too long, and then having Lonzo kind of orchestrate some things just helps there. And like you said, it does help that Zach is more of a 3-point shooter than DeMar is, so he doesn't have to force being a 3-point shooter. Because I mean, we saw Wade and LeBron be successful not being 3-point shooters. Right. I don't know how successful it'll work if both of them was like that nowadays, but depending on how great the player it could work. But it works that Zach will get the threes up.
Surely. And shout out to the Phoenix Suns. No loss November. Broke the franchise record for the longest winning streak at 18 games, and they're still counting right now. Are you surprised that Phoenix went on a run like that to, like, they're at the top of the West right now, top of the league with the best record? Are you surprised Phoenix is playing this good right now, playing great right now like that, I should say?
Yeah, not really, because obviously they had some issues at the start of the year, obviously with the contract things, and then whether it was true or not, I don't know if it was true. It was just all reports, and reports they don't really mean much, but it was that DeAndre Ayton might not be happy or whatever.
Right.
And so, they stumbled a little bit at the beginning of the season, obviously, but it was only a matter of time for them to hit their stride. A lot of them played way deeper into the season last year than they ever played in their career. Then Booker played the Olympic team. So, you definitely had to just kind of get back into it. And then everyone's adjusting to the new basketball. I think that kind of matters a little bit.
Yeah, Paul George said something about that earlier in the season.
Yeah, so it kind of matters a little bit, but it was just a matter of getting stuff going. But anybody who thought Phoenix last year was a fluke, I guess they just didn't really watch them play, because if you looked at this team, they were clearly built to come back, especially if they were healthy, because they were young, but then you still got your good mix of vets, obviously with Chris Paul, Trey Crowder, and a couple other players like that. You can even consider Campaign at this time or whatever, but you still got the young guys. Devin Booker's a young vet, but Ayton.
Bridges.
And even though you had the controversy of DeAndre Ayton not getting paid, everybody else did get paid, so everybody else is kind of happy. Bridges come in with an almost $100 million contract.
Right, for sure.
Who else got paid?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul got his deal, obviously.
Campaign get paid?
Yeah, Cam got a
Cam
deal.
Johnson get paid?
Yeah.
Cam didn't get paid.
But another player, a backup center, I believe, got paid. I don't know, but
was it Kaminsky?
No, it wasn't Kaminsky. No. But a few people did get paid, so a couple of people are happy coming in too. So it's not surprising. Phoenix been bubbling for a couple of years, so.
No, for sure. And just speaking of Mikal Bridges, who's looking like all first team defensive player candidate, maybe even defensive player of the year candidate. I know people are already saying that that Phoenix could get maybe 2 or 3 All-Stars, that being Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. But the way Mikal Bridges is playing defense, people think he should make an All-Star team just off of that alone, because his defense, he did play good against Steph the other night in that win.
4 for 21. Yeah, 4 for 21.
Do you think it'd be possible for a primary wing defender to make it? He's not going to give you 20. He gave you 2 points against Golden State, which I'm pretty sure they would have wanted more, but he gave you great defense. Do you think it'll be hard for him to make it? Because
what helps Mikal out, though, is he's not typically a 2-point scorer, though. Right. He is usually between 14 to 16 a game. So it's just a matter of how hot they get, because it's that's how Kyle Korver made it when the Hawks, because he shooting such a high percentage from 3, but then he's also averaging some points.
Right.
If they have to have a really good record, which they're 18-3 now, right, or whatever they are. But they got to be like that going into All-Star break, where it's because it's hard to get 2 All-Stars. It's really hard to get 3, damn near impossible to get 4, even though I can think of some teams off the top of my head that's gotten 4 the last 20 years with the Hawks, the Pistons, Golden State. So it happens, but the Hawks were, they got 4 with Rondo, yep. But these teams were on 60 win paces, which Phoenix is on, obviously. But if they keep it up, because once you start getting to the reserves and the coaches pick, they always kind of give credit to winning, especially like you say. Not only is he looking like he's going to be first team on defense, but if he's looking like a defensive player of the year candidate, that ups the ante a little bit also. So I don't think they'll get 4. I don't even think they'll get 3. But if we looking at them going to the All-Star break and let's say they got 5 losses, 6 losses,
it's magic. I think 5 is the magic number for them to get.
If they have 5 losses, they'll have 4 All-Stars. But to lose 2 games between now and February is tough.
No, for sure. Yeah. And I know it's just getting to the quarter mark of the season. But do you think they have a chance to stay? Think they get early favorites for the championship right now?
Well, you got to give them. You got to let the big dog eat. They're the one that went to the finals last year, and they're rolling. So you got to think going to the finals goes through them, because honestly, their team is really kind of complete, in my opinion. They get good bench play. You got good vet play. You got young players. Devin Booker is top 15 in the NBA, top 5, top 3 at his position, top 5 at his position for sure. DeAndre Ayton is for sure top 10 in his position, top 5. You got the coaching with Monty. So they kind of have everything you want to win the championship, honestly. And then especially going to the finals last year, Phoenix should be really kind of the favorite, one of the favorites in the league, which I'm sure they are. But I think coming out of the West is probably definitely going to have to go through Phoenix to get to the finals. Yeah, for sure. Because their team is Golden State is really good. They're really good, and I like their role players. But for me to take them serious, it's a matter of how good Clay is. Steph is really good, and that's why the Warriors are really good. I don't think this team is going to the finals. Unless Clay and Wiseman,
somebody's gonna have to be down there. Actually, as good as a defender as Draymond Green has been through his career.
You need that. Yeah, you need
he's not finna guard and slow down Aiden.
And I don't expect Wiseman to look like an all-star or even rookie of the year. I know it's the second year, but even rookie of the year. But I just expect him, if he's healthy, if he's healthy for sure, like we're not worried about if he's gonna be in and out of games with him and Clay. That changes how I feel about Golden State. But this team as it is now, I think they're really good, but I think they lose in the second round. They probably lose in the first round, honestly. So, but Phoenix, I think it's tough to beat them because coming in, you thought the Lakers were gonna be their competition. Like I think they would kill the Lakers in the playoffs right now. As of right now, it's a long season though, so different conversation in February, March, possibly. But as of right now, they would destroy the Lakers. They would destroy. I don't know who would give Phoenix the biggest problem in the West, honestly, right now, because I don't think they're lacking nothing. Phoenix is. I ain't picking no MVPs or nothing like that right now, but right now, I think Phoenix is the best team in the NBA.
No, that's fair.
I can go off that deep end, even with the 18-game winning streak. So maybe it's a hot take on that, but I think I would say they're the best. Because what are they really lacking? If Phoenix, because you got to think, if somebody's lacking something, that means you're gonna be looking for it at the buyout market or maybe in a trade. Mm-hmm. What does Phoenix really need to add to their team?
As of right now, I can tell you.
Like maybe a backup shooting guard. You good at backup point. Yeah. You got. Like they're good with size, especially with JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee is an underrated pickup. Like shout out to JaVale McGee. He's super talented. But you got McGee. Sark is coming. Yeah, Sark is coming back off the injury. Cam Johnson is still good off the bench. Cam Johnson is really good. He should be in 6-man of the year conversations. Like from here going on forward for the rest of his career.
I guess maybe another shooter off the bench because defense, like between Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and Mikal Bridges, the defense is square, honestly.
And Chris Paul there. We're talking about them having potential for All-Star, so we know that conversation is there. And we saw what Devin Booker did in the playoffs. So honestly, unless you put him up in front of Giannis, KD, I mean, I'm taking Devin Booker against almost anybody. I saw JJ Redick said that like he's one of the most clutch players in the NBA. So it's like Phoenix. I'm not gonna call them a perfect team, but as far as what I'm looking at the NBA right now, they're as close as you're gonna get to a perfect team. Sure. Like you say, they can go to 8 and on the inside. Then you can Chris Paul them all day, whether he's picking and rolling and mid range you, or Devin Booker can go ISO on you. They move the ball, they play defense. Phoenix is the best team in the NBA for sure.
You heard it here first. Phoenix best team in the NBA.
Maybe it's because they win 18 in a row, but they look good though.
No, yeah, for sure.
Mo, shout out to Mo. What up, Mo?
Shout out to Ken too. First comment.
Ken. I ain't see Ken. Shout out to Ken.
Ken's always the first comment. But speaking of other teams that succeed this year, the Washington Wizards they're still playing good right now. They got a big win against Minnesota, who only lost their second game in their last 9, I think it is.
Yep.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Third right now.
What, 15-8?
14.
14.
And then the Bulls are 15-8. So
right there, yeah. So between Spencer Dinwiddie, Montrezl Harrell, KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Darius Gafford at the trade deadline, Washington's done a good job of putting a lot of talent around Bradley Beal in a short amount of time, if you really think about it. And that's all any star player truly is asking for. Like just put the talent around me and we can get it done.
Yeah, like we talked about it a few weeks ago. I believe we did. Yeah, sure. But they all the bills on wax or off wax. But it was like when they traded Westbrook, the immediate thing you just think is, oh damn, they traded Westbrook. This is going to get bad for you, Bradley Beal.
Right.
But then when you just take a breath and look back and look at the trade, like it was obvious they need a point guard. I was heavy on they gotta get a point guard. I definitely was heavy on that. But when you took a breath and you just looked at the deal, you're like, hold on, they kind of got some pieces. You got valuable role players. I'm really high on KCP. I think KCP was really important to the Lakers winning that championship, and not just because of Georgia, but like he stepped up for the Lakers big when they needed that third player, and some people thought it was gonna be Coos.
That was him a lot, yeah.
It was KCP,
and still straps,
right? Yeah, so I was real high on them getting KCP. I'm not the highest on Trez, but I respect Trez's game because he knows how to be effective in what he does. You just got to find the minutes for him. You know, you don't average 17 win 6-man of the year by mistake. So Trez is a hooper, and I've seen him work out in the summers and stuff. So I know Trez got game. So you putting Trez back in the right situation, and he's hungry, closer to where he went to college in Louisville or whatever. And then adding Coos, who has averaged 18 in the NBA, and despite some of his shortcomings, we all know Coos was a baller. Yeah, and his outfits. We all know Coos is a hooper, right? So he could be a valuable piece. And Coos plays hard. I know he gets, even I give him a lot of crap because he shoot the ball every time he touch it. At least he used to. But Coos never lacked trying to play defense. He never lacked trying to rebound. So that showed that he really cared. So that I feel like that matters. So it was just like getting a point guard. And then you add Spencer Dinwiddie, who I can also say for him, I'm not the biggest fan of Spencer Dinwiddie because I don't think he's an all-star. But I think he's a borderline all-star player. But he's playing all-star.
He fits good on the team.
He's a great compliment to Bradley Beal, who's ready to take the next step of like really being the leader for the team. Because I've criticized him a lot that when John Wall was their best player, they still was top 4 in the East and they won. He got to play the sidekick, so now he the best player. It's his turn, and he really stepping up this year to doing that or whatever. So the Wizards, and the main thing was shout out to Westside Jr. switching out from Scott Brooks to him. They just instantly started playing more defense because Scott Brooks doesn't play defense. He don't play defense. I'm not even gonna slander Scott Brooks today, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Sure.
But Wes Unseld has him playing defense, and hey, who knows? Stopping the other team from scoring him in the game.
And the Wizards have drafted good over the last 2 years as well. We're breaking in Ryu and what's the kid from last year?
Yeah, Denny, because it's something that Denny got hurt last year, so that did affect him because he started and then he gets hurt, so you lose him in the lineup. Right. So yeah, Ryu and Denny have been great.
Gafford as a shot blocker,
and Gafford came out of nowhere because I never had heard him at all. I'm just watching the Wizards game last year, and I see him on the court. I'm like, who the hell is this dude? And he a valuable piece, especially after they lost Thomas Bryant,
who they're gonna get back eventually at some point. So do you think the Wizards can kind of? I ain't gonna say they're gonna finish top 4, but do you think the Wizards can finish playing this good? How they're playing right now?
Yeah, because in the East, in the NBA period, when you hot during the regular season, you can sustain it when you got players that can finish game. Dinwiddie, despite what I think of Dinwiddie as an all-star or a borderline all-star, Dinwiddie is a hooper, and he'll hit. He's not afraid of big shots. He has a lot of talent. So he also is a person that knows his game enough to know that Brad is the best player, but at the same time, he knows sometimes he gotta tell Brad, "Hey, I got it." So when you got somebody like that on your team to go with the guy that Bradley Beal is, like it wouldn't be surprising to me for them to stay in the top 4. Maybe make some noise, try to get to the second round or something like that. But I can see them staying in the top 4. They keep playing defense for sure.
Do you think they're missing anything that can help them stay in the top 4? I mean, like I said, aside Phoenix, every team is probably missing something. But do you think they're missing something specifically that can help outside of just staying healthy and getting Thomas Bryant back?
Right. At the end of the day, I think they're getting valuable minutes from their 4, which is where they've gotten their young players from. But I guess with having your guards how you want them, the next thing is to have that big kind of really take the next step, because I just don't see a team winning a championship with one all-star. You can have a lot of really good players, but it just, it happens rarely with all-time great players. And Bradley is great, but is he all-time great? And when I say all-time great, I'm talking about the next level of all-time great. Because it's all-time great. It's like, can he get to that lead a team to your championship all-time great, like Dirk type of thing? So you usually got somebody else with you. So they're still missing that to make them be a serious contender. That's how you get to the next step. Because at the end of the day, just being real, I don't care how good the Wizards playing. Bradley Beal not beating James Harden and Kevin Durant. He's not beating one-on-one Giannis. I mean, it's not one-on-one, but if it come down to my best player is Giannis versus Bradley Beal. Giannis is going to the finals again. So they're still missing that, and maybe it's in a collective of players like really stepping up and upping their averages. I mean, we see Phoenix, even though Phoenix have those players, they share the wealth really well. I mean, last year it was multiple players averaging 15 plus. So that changes the game also. Yeah. But they're missing another game-changing player. Right now, they're just a really good team. And I say that with the most respect.
No, yeah, I feel you on that. Like I say, sometimes you just need that other player who can.
Not being Kevin Durant and James Harden with just Bradley Beal. Not happening. They got solid role players in Brooklyn too. But if it was Bradley Beal and Karl Anthony Towns, not gonna happen. I'm just saying a player that comes to mind. Because I like Dinwiddie at point, so I'm not looking for a point guard. Sure. So realistically, if you got someone else, is it even anyone else out there to get?
It'll be a big
yeah. Because the potential players, you got to think I ended on this. Because I know I'm spending a long time on the Wizards. But the only potential big name players out there is 2 players that come to mind. I don't think they make a deal for either one of them I don't think there's nothing out there going on for him. Just thinking, because I said that they got to add another all-star type player. So the two players that I think that are most tradable right now, because we're not taking Kyrie out, is Jaylen Brown or Ben Simmons. I don't think Washington really wants Ben Simmons. It's the matter of who you're giving up for Jaylen Brown. But imagine they traded for Jaylen Brown and you kind of keep Gafford. Maybe you probably give up Denny or Rice, but you going Jaylen, Dinwiddie, Brad. You still got Trez coming off the bench. Coos. That's a little different. That's a little different. It's a little different.
No, I feel you.
Not saying that team go to the finals either, but it's different.
No, it is definitely different. And speaking of Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I think
Karl Anthony Towns, that'll be really different.
No,
that's not happening.
I think they're playing a lot better than people expected from them.
I think they're playing a lot better, not only than people expected, than people realize right now. Minnesota's in 6th place. That's why I tweeted what I tweeted about them the other day. But my bad.
No, yeah, for sure. Because that is honestly why I brought it. You did tweet about it, and I think we've said this multiple times. Just in our,
well, they had 8th place. They lost the other day.
Just in regular conversations, like they have a big three that you want to have because everybody understands their role. Like say, D'Lo ain't scared of taking a shot with 10 seconds left and y'all down 1. Ant gonna fill in all the scoring in between the first and the fourth quarter. Karl Anthony Towns is your best player, top 3 center in the league. They're all young, and then you throw in role players like McDaniels, Okogie, Malik Beasley as a scorer off the bench. Who's the backup point guard? I don't know who that.
I don't know.
Nas
Reed though off the bench also. I can't think of
who
the backup point guard is.
Like maybe that's what they should be looking for. Maybe they should be trying to get John Wall. Maybe he'll come off the bench in Minnesota. Who knows? But Minnesota is a good young team who should be trying to keep this town together and actually figure it out for the first time in their franchise's history.
Yeah, and my bad. But Patrick Beverly is supposed to be back, right, but he's hurt right now. But like you say, it all starts with kind of trying to have that game-changing talent to try to get better. And D'Angelo Russell, I believe, leads NBA in clutch points right now. I believe he leads. If he don't lead, he's in the top 5. But he's been that player even since he was with those bad Lakers team. He was never scared to take that last shot or make a play at the end or whatever. So to have that and everybody's cool with the ball being in his hands is helpful, throughout the game. To me, it's not even that Karl Anthony Towns is Minnesota's best player. Because maybe he is. He's 7 feet, but I personally think Ant-Man is better. Maybe he's not better yet. Maybe he is. But to have his versatility, because obviously he can do more than Ant just being 7 feet and he can shoot and play in the post. It's different when you got that on the team. But knowing you got that player and you could play through him throughout the game. And I think people have tried to – I see people trying to start little rifts between him and Ant to make it seem like he doesn't like when Ant goes ISO at times. Like I remember it was one on NBA Twitter a couple of weeks ago when Ant pulls up for a shot and Cat, he just walks down and they like Cat is fed up with it. And I saw Zach, shout out Zach Ramsey off the glass pile, but he was like, maybe he sees his man is going 1-on-1, Ant finna cook him, so I'm going down court to get ready to play defense. It didn't look like he like threw up his hands, it was like frustrated or nothing. It's like sometimes players don't go all the way down the court, especially when certain people have the ball.
And Anthony Hill is one of those players you can't stop him from going ISO. He's one of your better players.
Exactly, but they have seemed to have a solid relationship. I can see people trying to make a little riff with things with them or whatever. But knowing you got Cat and you can play through him and Cat is top 3 at his position, but then you also see the trailblazing scorer that Ant is becoming because he's averaging 22 a game. He's giving you 30 when he needs to. He's not afraid to. I like that at the end of the game, you got D'Lo who wants the ball, but Ant will take those shots too. And I know a couple of weeks ago he settled for a 3 that he missed. But I've seen him a lot of times in his young career already at the end of the game. Like he go to the basket to win. And that's kind of different for a young player because he knows he got that step in that athleticism. But you got those 3 at the top, and then like you just went into the role players. Nas Reed is a solid backup center. I actually really like his game. I love Josh Okogie's game. Shout out to him, Georgia Tech, and he's from Nigeria. So shout out to Josh Okogie. Malik Beasley is, he just focused on hooping right now, and he's doing that for them. I can't think of who their coach because they replaced their coach. A new coach. I don't know who their coach is, but he has them. My bad. I don't know who Minnesota's coach is right now, but he has them playing together and just really just trying to get better overall.
No, I'm sure he definitely bought in the system and they bought into it. speaking of two young teams who I think we both can agree.
Torres Prince has been a good pickup for them too.
Torres Prince definitely bringing some more veteran leadership. But the Houston Rockets and the Orlando Magic are two teams who I think are in the same position where they got a lot of young talent, but they don't know what they're doing with the young talent, so they're just stockpiling it.
Basically.
So as you said on Twitter the other day, just playing basketball right now and trying to see what fits together. And I know we had shout out to Will because we was talking to Will on Twitter about it the other day as well, about Houston's situation. But when you see teams like this before we get out of here, that's kind of just throwing darts at a chart, seeing what's sticking, what formula works. How long? I know you already said you don't like that kind of process,
right?
Because it doesn't build any kind of cohesiveness. But how long? Like, isn't that a longer process? Because you're just drafting picks, you're just drafting players at this point,
basically. And I feel differently about both situations though, which is weird because I think Orlando is at the beginning of theirs. Like they haven't had that top 5 pick, so I get them. And then Markelle gets hurt last year, so you kind of probably want to. I mean, they did draft Jalen Suggs in the top 5, but they haven't had that top 3 pick. When teams are losing, they're trying to go top 3. No disrespect.
Orlando wasn't trying to lose.
Right. No disrespect to the number 4 and number 5 pick. You don't matter. People want number 1 through 3. Those are supposed to be your game-changing, franchise-changing players. If you go top 3, 4 to 5, you just hope to get a consistent all-star, and maybe even just a consistent starter, long-time team player. But top 3, you're expecting an all-star at the minimum. That's why I'm personally gonna always be tough on the top 3 pick. I respect people that get long careers because it's hard to do, but if you top 3, I expect you to be an all-star. But so Orlando hasn't had that yet. So Houston is why it's just a little more weird to me because you draft Jalen Green top 3, and Jalen came in with high praises. I don't have to say the comparisons. Y'all have all heard that they've been out there, and some people even have told me personally on NBA Twitter that they think he's a perennial all-star shooting guard, like multiple all-star games, game-changing player. They expect him to be that. So if you have that and you got a team that's solid overall already, and you got another player that you got in a steal of a trade last year that you think is a big-time scorer, because I don't know what people think Kevin Porter Jr. ceiling is. I can see him having, if your team's successful, having a big year and being like an all-star type player, but like I don't know. People think he was going to be like James Harden because that's why they put him at point guard. And he had that type of ceiling. But James Harden's an MVP, and I don't see him as an MVP candidate. But people do see Jalen Green down the line. That's his ceiling as an MVP candidate. I'm not going to say his comparisons because they were blasphemous to me. But that's what I've heard. So you got a solid player in Christian Wood.
Got on a good contract.
Right. And then you have John Wall. You got Eric Gordon. You have some vets where this team isn't gonna win the championship necessarily, but
they have they got some good young talent along with some good veterans.
Exactly, King Martin Jr. where y'all can compete. Maybe you sneak your way to the playoffs, and you already got this game changing talent. People, potential players. I mean, can see how he plays in certain situations and be like, "Hey, I want to go there and play with them," because you already got that player. So I don't really get why Houston is losing necessarily. You're just giving Kevin Porter and Jalen Green a chance to build bad habits. They're both already, no disrespect to them, they're obviously overly confident player, but you don't want that confidence on the court to just turn to arrogance because you could do whatever you want. And then you lose for years and years. And now in 3-4 years, we're moving on to the next player, especially if you see Jalen Green as that player. That's my only thing. He went number 2. So if he went number 2, you're seeing him as, you can't put the Hall of Fame on anybody. Obviously, that's tough. But you can't be mad at people who think top 2 picks are supposed to be game-changing players. That's why you're at the top of the draft. You're the best 2 players in this draft or whatever. Like I said, Orlando, they just decided last year that they were going to start tanking. So they're still trying to figure out what they're doing. And they got some players that's having solid years. Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony is putting up buckets this year. Wendell Carter's playing really well. So they're just trying to figure out who fits there. And
Ricky Franz Wagner's been pretty good for him this year.
Right.
Terrence Ross is the only player that don't fit because he's still in.
Yeah, they need to get rid of him. They need to get rid of Terrence Ross.
Just so he can go prosper somewhere because he shoot everything. He's one of those players. Like he's just trying to show. I think he's overly trying to get a contending team to trade for him with some of the shots he takes because he just shoots the ball sometimes.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
I guess some of these teams though, my just thing is it's more specific for me with Houston because I think Orlando is fresher in the game, but with Houston because you just drafted in the top 2, and the way they're playing, it just says to me that you don't really think Jalen Green is that player, so you're fishing for the next player in one of these drafts, whether it's the Scoot Henderson kid for the G League, or if it's Amani, or shout out to Will again. He put me on the 7-2 dude, Wemby, who is a monster. It's like you just fishing for one of those players. They really kind of just doing the process thing of just drafting players like they drafted, like Philly was doing, but you don't really believe that this player is it.
And they also got a lot of first-round picks over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, so I get the idea of the plan. I just think if you think Jalen Green is that player, if you think Kevin Porter's what you say they are, having some structure out there and building some good winning habits always works. It always works better. But hey, maybe it don't work, and in 3 years you look like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and everybody trying to break you up.
But other than that, like
they won as rookies. They went to the conference finals.
Yeah, so. They went to 4 and 5 years,
and they both became all-stars within 5 years into the league. And no matter what people try to tell you, no matter what issues are in Boston, it's not Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They both can get better, but they are.
They ain't that far. What's going on in Boston? But like I say, it's been a good, quarter of the season so far. I think there's been a lot of surprises. Some teams have really stepped it up. I think it's some teams who struggled early who we thought would be better.
Lakers.
Definitely Lakers. The Hawks.
The Hawks have caught fire recently. Shout out to the Hawks. But the Hawks definitely were stumbling
out the gates.
And especially when they went through the stretch of some of those tougher teams. They've had their injuries. People have been trying to get in shape. So, yeah, the Hawks have definitely been one of those teams. Right. It's been teams up and down. Like, remember, Philly started so hot, then you lose Joel Embiid for 9 games, and now
they're trying to get it back.
People think they're going to have a top 3 pick.
Right. Miles Bridges, who's been good, started off averaging 25, still averaging 20, but that came out the gate averaging 25.
Yeah, Miles Bridges he was everybody's all-star pick 5 games in. Shout out to Miles Bridges because he's clearly gotten better, but probably got to let the season kind of manifest.
Surely did.
He's still hooping, though.
Oh, yeah,
Charlotte, in particular, is hooping, so that's the main thing. Shout out to Charlotte.
Because just had a close loss to Milwaukee the other night.
Yeah, but LaMelo hit that big shot towards the end. He had a career high the other night, so shout out to LaMelo.
But other than that, you got anything else?
Other than that, that's it for today. Just as always, appreciate the viewers. You can find us anywhere podcasts are available. Just search the Hoopers Pod. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the Hoopers Pod page. Just search the Hoopers Pod on YouTube. Every Monday, catch us on Nothing But Net channel through the Dash Radio app, 3 p.m. Wednesdays, we back at you with our rooms on Halftime app. We did Iverson this week. Don't know who we're doing next week, but we'll get back that to you soon. And we're here for Friday for these runs on Off the Ball Network's Facebook page, Hoopers YouTube, and the Hoopers Twitter page.
And with that being said, I'm John W.
It's Fresh X.
This was the Hoopers Morning Run.
Catch y'all next week. Oh, before we go, I just want everybody to know that Kevin Durant and Steph were both players of the month for the first month of the season, and these guys were teammates. So I need somebody to make a tweet about how we need to appreciate what we said. And I'm out on that.